but the question was, what is the impact, or what is being done? Yes, well, I think bands like the Shaman are... Yes. Bands like the Shaman are carrying the message into society that we now have an option, a possibility for change through the rave culture, through the building of community, through the music and the dissolution of boundaries, through the use of these psychedelics. The Shaman are showing how you create an archaic style culture after 5,000 years of human history. Because we can't abandon technology. We have 6 billion people on this planet. But the Shaman and the rave culture are showing us how we can take what was best in the society of 25,000 years ago and bring it into the center of our lives and live it again and create a community of caring, intelligent people who've got their heart connected to their head and their heart connected to their feet, so that through dance, feeling, philosophy, sexuality, art, we manifest the creativity that is going to be necessary for us to save ourselves. This is the key, you see. If the expansion of consciousness does not play a major role in the human future, what kind of future is it going to be? And I think the Shaman, the band, through their advocacy in a trickster manner of the use of E, have brought many, many people to just confront the question, do I want to alter my consciousness? Do I want to examine what I always thought was the bedrock of my mental world and see if perhaps it isn't actually only the first level of something much deeper, much more profound, that if we could all come into contact with these deeper levels through music, community, and boundary-dissolving psychedelics, we would find the lost source of human happiness. And this is what shamans generally have been about, restoring the lost source of human happiness by leading people away from the trivial and back toward the wisdom of the body and the community.
And what about the people who lose along the way, the people who go off the rails, and those who die from lying down a pipeline because they're taking too much, or because they're taking every week with some difficulty?
What are we to do about the casualties we leave along the way, and how are we to respond to that? We must educate ourselves. We must explain to people and give people a new language for talking about substances and consciousness alteration. The word drugs has been so poisoned by the establishment that it means everything from aspirin to heroin to LSD. We need to educate ourselves and our children about what drugs really are and what they do. The current approach, which is to deny all drugs except the ones which support the major industries, has failed. And so we need to say, heroin does this, psilocybin does this, E does this. In the same way that we have finally, I hope, learned to educate our children about their sexual options and opportunities, we need to raise the quality of discussion in the area of drugs, educate people, and then we won't have casualties. We won't have ruined lives and low awareness lives. Well, yes, absolutely. All drugs should be legalized in the West. Here in America, we have a primary document of our union which guarantees life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, if the pursuit of happiness does not mean the right to self-experiment with substances on your own consciousness, it must then be utterly meaningless. So, yes, I view the psychedelic issue as part of the long march toward human freedom that has such signposts along the way as the abolition of slavery, the giving of women of the vote, the inclusion of black people into the processes of democratic society, and the establishment of the universal right of people to take substances to alter their consciousness. It's all about the triumphal march toward a society where the dignity of the individual is always the first value to be honored. We do not want to be ruled by the fears of Christian fundamentalism or the shallowness of scientism or the dreary spiritual emptiness of materialism. We want to connect first to our bodies and through our bodies to the planet. And this is what rave music, this is what hallucinogens, psychedelic plants, this is what the shaman are about. And thank God for it, because we have entered into the final countdown for the apocalypse. If we don't find our spiritual center and set a course out of the storm of history created by science run amok, then we will have no world to leave for our grandchildren. You going to feed me the question, or do you want me to? Okay.
I would be very happy for you to start off and save my voice. Okay.
I think the advocacy of e-use in Ebenezer Good is a classic example of shamanic mercurial trickery. The shaman is not an unambiguous figure. The shaman is not leading people into a realm of unmitigated happiness. Rather, shamans lead people into realms of risk and opportunity. And that needs to be understood. They are tricksters, and the band has very brilliantly exemplified that. A trickster is someone who is doing you good in ways that you may never even suspect, but you cannot treat a shaman the way you treat a guru or a teacher, because a shaman uses humor, paradox, contradiction, special effects to lead you to confront the unexpected. So I think the shaman, the band, should certainly be complimented on the way they've handled their message and their persona.
And can we reconcile that at all with, reports that
Well, if I thought it was a killer drug, I wouldn't. If I thought ecstasy was a killer drug, I certainly wouldn't place the advocacy of it in the category of trickster. I don't think it's a killer drug. I think it's a crude synthetic drug that, used several times, should probably then logically inspire people to look deeper. I see it as simply a first step toward a much richer and safer family of drugs represented by these plants. You see, if you take a plant that has been used by human beings for thousands of years, then you have your medical research data. You have your human exposure sample. If it's been taken for thousands of years by men, women, and children, as the mushroom has in central Mexico, then we know that it doesn't cause tumors or blindness or infertility. With drugs which come out of the laboratory, even pure, we don't know the long-term effects. And then, in practical terms, you have to add that underground chemists often are not as competent as they might be, or not as careful as they should be, and so you're getting an inferior cooking of a chemical which was questionable in its application in the first place. So I believe that for deep work, for lasting work, it's the shamanically sanctioned traditional plant hallucinogens that carry us into really deep water. On the other hand, certainly for centuries, all kinds of chemicals have been used to grease the flow of social interaction and to party down, basically. And I have no quarrel with that. But that's an entirely different issue than the deep use of these things for shamanic and spiritual purposes.